What's up, guys? It's Roberto from Driven Media.
What's up, guys? Tommy Kentner from TK Autoworks, and today we're going to be talking about 1 and 2J Zs because Roberto really likes
Yes,
it.
my opinion, the best, strongest motor to come out of Japan. Sort of like the LS of Japan, as they say.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're good engines. I think the 1J sounds a little bit better than the 2J.
I agree. Everybody wants the 2J, but there's something about where the rods are different sizes on, it's not like a square setup as it is in the 3.0
Yeah,
that I think it just kind of gives it a little bit of extra sound. Some people think they sound like an RB a little bit,
no,
I really don't know, but
RB sound better.
nah, 1J sound better.
No.
We'll talk about engine sounds in a different video. Actually, that was something we've been talking about doing. JC is the successor of the 7M engines that came out of the original Supra and Celica. It was a pretty decent motor. It had some head issues. But I mean, if you kind of look at it on paper, same thing, dual overhead cam, 3.0, all that. Whenever they came with the JC, what really helped them is the Yamaha created the head, and up to that point, heads weren't really flowing that well. So like I think that was like a big one. If you look at today's standards, the 1J head is actually not that great flowing, but back in the day it was. And the 2J, literally what Toyota did, it was just they copied the same design and they just made it 0.5 bigger. That's literally all it is.
Yeah, and well, yeah, because they added, or they didn't add the VVTi 2J is like the sought after sauce right now.
Mm-hmm.
So just because it gives you that low end power or below the curve power.
Yeah, and I think the VVTi stuff is you pretty much want it for everything except for drag. Like that would be the only situation that I could see that you would want a non-VVTi motor.
Yeah, mostly street cars.
But for road course, for hitting back roads, for drifting, for just a normal street car, is you gain quite a bit of power. Like Tommy said, at the low end of the RPM, that kind of helps you all throughout the range.
The 2J really seemed like a big increase, I would say, in like the 2001s with the movie Fast and Furious, and it had that Super in there too. Um, and then I don't know if a lot of our listeners are old enough for like Nopi was a big thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then we seen the 2J come out, seen its progression with like Justin racing, really solid, you know, backbone of the industry engine that kind of fired off all the import racing and all that good stuff. So um, yeah, just I mean, I'm more of a GTR guy, so
Yeah,
it's not. I mean, I still respect the engine, and I mean, I own well, actually, I own a few, um, but they're still, real good engines, real reliable, and I think they helped, get us to where we are today in the industry.
I think so too. From what I've been reading, is that apparently back in the day, when people really didn't know what it could do, because everybody thinks of a JC as having 1,000 horsepower, and that's just super far from the truth. You got to do quite a bit of things to it. It's not as many things as other cars in order to get it to that level, but it's still like you can't just run the stock parts and be there. Um, what I read on forums or whatever, it says that back when like the tuning days were like really really new, the open source and everything else like that, that people were just trying to push these cars to the limit and see what it could do. Like somebody push them to 400 and like, oh wow, it's still not breaking. 500, it's still not breaking. Like they just kind of keep pushing, and even without the tech that we have now and everything else, people back then were seeing 600-700 horsepower somewhat reliably for a few years on these, and that was unheard of. Like that was just not a thing. That was like big block Chevy type stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's one of the greatest things, like especially when you go to like Cup finals and it's domestic versus imports. You'll see the domestic cars like come out of the hole swinging, but then on the back half, um, the imports will just go around them. And I think that really shows like you need a really efficient turbo
Hmm.
because you have so much less displacement to get the car on to power, and then once it's on to power, it'll streamline.
Yeah, for sure. Um,
Um,
and that's something else that like a lot of people say, even Adrian, that with like an LS or something like that, you can get get away pretty recently with just a Chinese turbo,
oh yeah,
and
yeah. No, if
because
you
they
have
just have that displacement, they can get it going.
yeah, if you have displacement, you don't really need a real efficient turbo. But if you don't have displacement or small displacement, then you need a really efficient turbo,
Yeah,
and then you're going to probably push it beyond its efficiency too.
right, right. But basically, kind of bring it to the JC, which is what we're talking about. You have your 1J, you have the 2J, 2.5, 3.0. Within those variants, there's a G and GT. G means NA, GT means turbo. Within those variants, there's
Uh-huh.
non-VVTI and there's VVTI. So,
It's like which one is the best one?
right, and it's one of those things where it's debated a lot. Some people say the best setup you can have is the 1J head ported with the 2J block. I don't know. Some people say that the 2JC non turbo heads, once you pour them because of their design, that's the best design. At the end of the day, you're getting an iron block engine. It's a 3.0. It's a lot of displacement for a Japanese engine, really.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, people have done stroker motors that do 3.6, 3.7. Uh, that's really getting up there closer to the Fort Barra that we never saw in the States, and that's one motor that I would really like to see
Oh, for
someday.
sure.
That's a 4.0.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, it's just like it's one of those things like you can get any of these motors, and if you want to go straight right away and get it driving, it's turbo and everything else, definitely get the GTE. But if you get a GE and you do a couple things like piston rods or whatever, I mean you're not that far behind, and you could be doing it for somewhat of a budget. Nowadays they've gone up in price, but
Oh yeah.
it's still cheaper than a lot of other things.
Yeah. Once you say something's cheap, then it's no cheap, not cheap anymore.
Once the word of mouth gets out,
It's like that.
it's over. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Shell, you could get an LS 5 6 years ago for like $300,
Oh yeah.
like a 5.7, and now that those days are over.
Yeah. Yeah. Or if you rented a U-Haul,
uh,
you can get it out overnight. You
yeah,
only pay 19.95.
for that 6.0. But yeah, I mean the 1J was basically in production from 1990 to 2007. It didn't really make that much power in paper. Like the NA one made 170 to 200. The turbo one made 276 because of the gentleman's agreement.
Closer to 330.
Right. And then the 2J, similar situation, but I would say that's sort of kind of when Toyota perfected it, and it's in the Supra. Everybody knows that, but it's in a lot of other cars. Like
Oh
it,
yeah.
it is on the Chasers, it is on the Ristos, it's in the Crown, on the Soars, um, and that's just cars that it came in.
GS 300.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that not even talking about the turbo sides of things, because in the States the Lexus brand carried the NA ones.
And those things get like 400,000 miles.
Oh yeah,
Like it was. I mean, it's actually what made me get my Aristo because I uh scooped a GS 300 for like I want to say it was like $500,
nice.
and it was like the most luxurious car I've ever owned because tuner cars don't come with like really good I don't know features.
I mean they're
So
they're they're nice, but they're not comfortable cars.
Yeah,
Where that is a car that you're really not
no,
you're really not missing any of the performance, but then you have the comfort, which if you want to take like a long road trip or something
yeah,
like that, man, that's a nice car.
yeah, and it was like the epitome of a sports sedan.
Yeah. I want to say it was the highest horsepower sedan for a while, wasn't it?
I think it was.
Yeah, yeah.
But and like I said, I liked it so much that I bought the Japanese version, which is a Toyota Aristo.
It's nice.
But it comes with the supermotor in it,
Hmm.
and that makes it even better.
Right, right. I mean, literally a few bolt-ons and you're at 600 horsepower, super reliably. Like
Yep.
you could do that for 6 years, easy, no problem. Um, but that's just talking about the cars that came with a motor. Now that motor has been put on literally everything from Subarus to Silvias to uh wasn't there a guy that put it on a Camaro?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like even the American guys, American muscle guys, have respect for the JZ because it's that strong.
Chevelle too.
Oh, that'd be nice. I would love that. Yeah. But it's just one of those things that I think over time, people talk about the B58 or the new Supra being a BMW and all that. That is just as good or it's the better version of it. It's strong. I'm not gonna say it's not. It's definitely proven itself over the last couple of years, and it's kind of changed my mind a little bit about it. But here's the thing: are people going to be looking at this car 15, 20 years from now? Probably not.
No.
It is not going to be a Toyota. There's no way around it.
Which I mean, the B58 isn't bad.
Mhm.
It's just I wish they would have took a little bit more time and actually developed the I mean, I get it on the back half because you have to have when the bar is so high and everything costs so much to research and develop, and it's easier to do a joint venture and then change the body, and the motor's pretty developed. Um, but I would have really liked to seen like a new, you know, Toyota Supra versus like a Toyota or a BMW badge as a Toyota Supra.
Right. I mean, and that's one of those things that Toyota has been doing forever. They did it with Lotus. They they're kind of known for collaborating with different manufacturers and coming up with products. Like what we're saying with the 1J head that was made by Yamaha.
Yeah.
And I've never really had an issue with that, having like one or two parts from a different manufacturer. But the thing about it is like this is literally a BMW car through and through with like a couple Toyota badges,
Yeah.
and
Like
it's just not the same.
Showing that you can go through the dash and actually make it show a BMW. So
It's because it's a C4 technically, ain't it?
yeah,
I want to say yeah. It's just I don't know. We're not Euro guys, so
yeah.
maybe Euro guys can
But
kind of chime in here.
BMWs are doing big things right now.
Right.
And it's kind of nice to see. And I like where Toyota is going with, the GR Corolla. I think they're taking over the BRZ platform and going to put the GR Corolla in there.
That would be nice. I think that's
And then
early.
A motor that's going to outperform the 2JZ.
That's what they say. Supposedly it's going to be a 2.0 4-cylinder. I mean, I don't see why they couldn't do it, because it feels like I always have to be the one to like, tell people why I like 4-cylinders, but I like 4-cylinders. I don't know, like they're lightweight, they pack a lot of punch, and if you do a couple things to them, they can be pretty much on par with a V8, or at least like back in the day, because V8s have taken a big step up on performance as well.
Yeah, the Coyotes.
Everything is just being pushed to levels that when we were growing up, it wouldn't be.
It was unfathomable.
It wasn't something that people did. Like there might have been 3 people in the state that had 1,000 horsepower car. You know what I mean? Like, and now it's somehow.
It's like you don't have 1,000 horsepower.
You just don't even come to the meet.
But yeah, so, I mean, and like I said, the 2JZ is, I mean, it is one of the easiest engines probably to make 1,000 horsepower on, and be reliable. Like the EJs are not going to like, I mean, they'll survive for a pretty good little bit, but I mean, you're going to have to like,
But you got to do everything in the book to
yeah,
make him last that long. Where the JC is, what helps it is that iron block. Like I
yeah,
think that's what it is. It's just it's strong. It's super heavy though. Like I
oh,
will say that. Like
it is super heavy.
that's something that you really can get ahead. You know, like once you put that on the front of a car, I mean, it could handle good, but you're gonna be putting some work into getting the suspension just set up right. Um, and here's another thing. This is what makes 2Js crazy. You do pistons, rods, like that. Pretty much, you can do 1,000 horsepower reliable. Your pistons, rods, and billet mains, and you're around
1500.
13, 14. Some people even say 1,500 horsepower. The fact that you could even do that with such a small amount of parts, I mean, I don't really know any other motor that can do that.
Yeah, not
Maybe the 50,
five.
the Mustang one. Those seem to be really really strong.
Yeah, but once again, you got big displacement.
Right.
So
You got an extra 2 liters. That's like the Jay Z and like a two, a Celica motor put together. Think about that,
K series.
Right, a K series all in there. Um, and then from there on, people do billet. There's that new, what is it called, the Dart motor.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah, they're doing big things on that. They actually, I think they put one of the lightest cranks in it,
yes,
and then
yeah,
they took it up to, I want to say it was like 1,300 horsepower on it,
that's nice. Yeah. Um,
and they spun it up pretty fast too. So,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and that was released last year, I think, at SEMA. So I have Real Street's the only one I've seen put data out on it, uh, but they're going to be doing some tested in uh, in different variations and stuff. But I would like to see it like in a 3.4,
Mm-hmm.
um, and see how fast it can. I don't know, spool like a Pro Mod 88 and see what it can really do.
That'd be crazy. That'd
Hmm.
be crazy. And I mean that's really really new. We honestly don't really know much about it because even the people from like Real Street and Jay from Real Street, I guess now RS Garage or whatever,
Yeah,
um, they're like the pioneers at this. But really, like the step up from that was to go billet, and I mean, at that point, it's just not really the same engine. Like that's a whole different thing. And you're talking about like what is a billet 2J block, like 10K.
10K.
I mean, and like really, it's like any engine.
Well,
Once you go billet, like it's around
oh,
that price or
yeah.
more, really.
Well, I mean, you're spending a lot more money once you go bill it because, I mean, if you go bill it, you need to put a dry sump on it. You need to,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, exponentially like costing more money because there's like clear view filters you want to do. I mean, it's a lot of cost associated with a billet engine, and you probably want to run 2 sets of injectors, so it's billet intake manifold with 2 sets of injectors,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then you're talking like real big horsepower, like
Over 2,000,
yeah,
probably more.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, you might even be running like billet atomizers
you might. Yeah, I mean, if
because
you
they're
if you
probably,
if you
probably
kind
gonna
of took it to that level, like what's an extra 5K, 10K? You know what I mean? Like,
be no,
yeah,
like what's extra 30K.
right. So it went from something that was somewhat unattainable to now you're hitting $100,000 plus.
Yep.
No, you're hitting $150,000 more
Yeah,
than like what it was.
yeah.
But at that level, like what's really touching you, like supercars maybe, like supercars probably can't even touch you that power.
No, I mean, and especially depending on what you got it in. Like if it's a light chassis like a 240,
Mm-hmm. Oh,
I
that thing
mean,
is going.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep. Especially if you got it like dialed in, and I mean, I feel like the ECUs and everything that's helping so much, like to make so much more horsepower because you have just better control, uh, better safeties. just
And the traction stuff too. Like
yes.
that's a big thing because like you could make the power,
Oh
and
yeah.
I feel like especially the JCs have been able to make the power for a while, but there's only so much tire you can put into a car before you have to chop up so much and stuff like that. So if you want to keep it somewhat in the OEM body lines, the traction controllers that you can put on Haltex and some of these aftermarket ECUs, that's what really helps you to put it down.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, and it also helps you make the horsepower too, uh, and like I said, the resolutions of the ECUs and the speed of the processors, and I mean, just I don't know. It's like I said, it's getting mind blowing what they can do now, and how you sometimes you can't even think until like you're in the situation to make a table to do what you need it to do. So
And that's amazing too, that you can be at the track and there was something you didn't like, boom, you go adjust it right away.
right,
And then real time, the next race, you can have fixed the issue that you had before, and now it's taken care of. It's amazing. But it seems like we always end up talking about Haltex and stuff, like no matter what we're talking about,
yeah.
because it's
Well, I
just such a
mean,
nice setup.
it it's the tool that makes everything possible,
Right.
and I mean, and like I said, you can get it done on any ECU. It's just, I mean, the Haltech's really user friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I mean, we like it, and we've messed with a few different ones, and like I said, it's a good product. So I mean, but also it's like a key piece of the puzzle, because without it, you're not gonna go as fast or make as much power and all that as almost like say a stock computer or a stock ECU or whatever. And also when the company supports what they sell, like that just makes it a lot better too.
Yes.
So
If you wanna sponsor his
yeah,
Haltech, we're talking real good things about you.
need an R5.
Yes. Um, but anyways, I feel like that's a good place to kind of end the JC side of things.
Right, RBs are better.
And nah, no, never. But we're also here, change the scenery a little bit.
Yeah,
The last time we had a little bit of light changes as the day progressed. So now this is like the back of the shop and everything's enclosed in, and also the sound should, in theory, be a little bit better because it's further from the window.
yeah. Yeah, so I was hoping this would be a little bit better. So we're just still trying to figure it out, guys. Let us know what you think in the comments. Um, we're just going to have like discussions like this about engines, and um, as I always say, drop comments below. Let us know what you would like to hear about. And I think we're just going to probably do some like just freestyle like conversations too. Just
Yeah.
that way, like I said, if it ain't something that you did want to hear about, but maybe you listen to it and it sparks something that you want to know, then we can get into that. But drop a comment below, hit that subscribe button, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Peace.
Peace.